Couple finds strange turtle on beach. When they look at his shell, they see something shiny. The couple strolled hand in hand along the beach, taking in the soft sand between their toes and the cool breeze on their faces. The early morning sun had just begun to rise, casting a warm glow over the shoreline. As they walked, something caught their eye. A strange rock lay near the edge of the sea, its surface marred by streaks of green and brown. Curious, the couple approached the rock, trying to make out its shape. But as they drew closer, the rock began to move. At first, it was just a gentle shifting, as if the rock were being buffeted by the waves. But then it became more pronounced, until the couple realized that the rock wasn't a rock at all. It was a turtle. The couple looked on in shock as they realized the turtle was not moving. It looked lifeless, covered in all sorts of dirt, insect, and snails. They both felt a pang of sadness for the poor creature. As they got closer, they noticed that there was something shiny on the turtle's back. It was a small object that reflected the sunlight, and it looked like it was attached to the turtle's shell. The couple had never seen anything like it before, and they wondered what it could be. They decided that they needed to get help for the turtle, but they didn't know where to start. They had never encountered a turtle in distress before, and they didn't know who to turn to for assistance. They looked around for any signs of help, but the beach was deserted and there was no one in sight. Suddenly, the woman had an idea. She remembered that there was a wildlife rescue center not far from where they were. They quickly looked up the center's phone number on their phone and made the call. The person who answered the phone was a kind-hearted volunteer who immediately asked for the couple's location and a description of the turtle's condition. They explained that the turtle looked lifeless and was covered in all sorts of dirt and insects, and there was something shiny attached to its shell. The volunteer told them that they would send a rescue team as soon as possible and asked them to stay with the turtle until help arrived. The couple agreed, and they sat down beside the turtle, trying to keep it as comfortable as possible. As they waited, the couple couldn't help but wonder how the turtle had gotten into such a state. They guessed that it had probably been washed up on the shore during the night and had been unable to make it back to the sea. They were both filled with sadness and regret that they hadn't been there to help the turtle sooner. How did the turtle end up here? What was the shiny thing on its back? And most importantly, was the turtle gonna be okay? Mary and Peter had been together for over 20 years, ever since they first met in school. The two of them had always shared a deep love for one another, and there was no doubt in anyone's mind that they were meant to be together. One thing that they loved more than anything was surfing. They would often take trips to the beach just to catch a few waves and soak up the sun. There was something about the feeling of being out in the open ocean that made them feel free and alive. As they got older, their love for surfing never faded. They would still make the trip to the beach as often as they could, even if it was just for a quick weekend getaway. They found it to be a great way to escape the stresses of everyday life and reconnect with one another. Despite their love for surfing, Mary and Peter faced their fair share of challenges over the years. They struggled to have children and had to come to terms with the fact that they would not be able to start a family of their own. However, this only brought them closer together, and they found new ways to enjoy life together. Eventually, as they approached their 40s, they started to think about their future. They wanted to find a place where they could settle down and spend the rest of their lives together, and that's when they discovered the small farm in the countryside. It was a beautiful property, surrounded by rolling hills and fields of wildflowers. And most importantly, it was only a short drive from the beach. It was everything they had ever wanted, and they knew that this was where they were meant to be. So they bought the farm, and over the years, they built a beautiful home on the property. And while they may not have had children of their own, they found joy in taking care of the animals and the land they called home. And of course, they never forgot about their love for surfing, which they continued to enjoy together until the very end. They had a great love for each other, and they shared many interests and hobbies. But despite all of their happiness and compatibility, there was one thing missing in their relationship: a wedding ring. Mary had always dreamed of getting married, and she had dropped hints to Peter about it for years. She had brought up the subject every so often, but Peter always found a way to sidestep the conversation. He wasn't against the idea of marriage, but he just didn't feel ready for it. Peter always felt like he wanted to have everything in order before he proposed to Mary. He wanted to have a stable job, a home, and some savings. He felt like he needed to be a fully fledged adult before he could commit to Mary in that way. However, Mary didn't need any of that. She loved Peter just the way he was, and she didn't need a fancy ring or a big wedding to prove it. She just wanted to be with him forever, and she felt like marriage was the natural next step. Despite their differing views on the matter, Mary and Peter continued to be a happy couple. They went on vacations together, shared hobbies, and supported each other through life's ups and downs. But deep down, Mary always felt a little sad that she wasn't yet Peter's wife. Little did she know that Peter had been secretly saving up for a ring for years. He had been working extra shifts at his job, skipping nights out with his friends, and even sold his old car to get the money he needed. He had finally found the perfect ring, and he was planning on proposing to Mary on their next beach trip. Peter had been planning this proposal for months. He knew that Mary was the one he wanted to spend the rest of his life with, and he wanted to make the moment as special as possible. He had spent hours searching for the perfect engagement ring, and had finally found one that he knew Mary would love. The plan was to take Mary to their favorite beach spot, where they had spent countless evenings watching the sunset and surfing. Peter had packed a delicious dinner and a bottle of wine, and was looking forward to the romantic evening ahead. As they sat on the beach watching the sun go down, Peter's heart was racing. He knew that this was the moment he had been waiting for. He got down on one knee and began to express his love for Mary. He was about to take out the ring when he realized it wasn't in his pocket. Panic set in as he frantically searched his pockets, the blanket, the basket, and the sand. The ring was nowhere to be found. Mary could sense his distress and tried to calm him down, but Peter was devastated. He had lost the symbol of their love, the ring that was meant to seal their commitment to each other. Mary tried to reassure him that it didn't matter, that they still had each other, but Peter couldn't shake the feeling of failure. The evening ended on a somber note, and the couple left the beach without the engagement they had hoped for. For weeks, Peter searched for the ring, scouring the beach and retracing their steps, but it was nowhere to be found. Despite the setback, Peter was determined to make things right. He knew that Mary was the one he wanted to spend his life with, and he wouldn't let a lost ring stand in the way of their love. Peter and Mary were both feeling a sense of helplessness as they sat on the beach waiting for the animal rescue team. They didn't know what to do to help the turtle, and the news that the rescue team was stuck in traffic only made them feel more frustrated. As they sat there, Peter suddenly got up and announced that he was going to get some water and food for the turtle. Mary looked at him skeptically. "How are you going to do that?" she asked. "We don't have any supplies with us, and we don't even know what kind of food turtles eat." Peter just shrugged and said, "I don't know, but I can't just sit here and do nothing. Maybe there's a convenience store or something nearby where I can buy some supplies." Mary shook her head and said, "It's too risky. We don't know how long the rescue team will be delayed, and we don't want to leave the turtle unattended. What if it wakes up and tries to make its way back to the water? We need to stay here and keep an eye on it." Peter looked disappointed but ultimately agreed with Mary. They sat back down beside the turtle, feeling more helpless than ever. They watched as the waves lapped at the shore, wondering how long it would be until the rescue team arrived. Peter sat beside the turtle, trying to think of ways to comfort the poor creature. He started slowly patting and whispering to the turtle, hoping it would calm down, but as he was doing so, his eyes caught a glimpse of something shiny on the turtle's back. As he leaned closer to get a better look, he realized that it was a ring. It was a beautiful diamond ring, attached to the turtle's shell by a small ribbon. Peter couldn't believe his eyes. How did a ring end up on the back of a turtle? As he sat there pondering the mystery, he heard the sound of a car engine in the distance. He looked up and saw the medical team arriving at last. They rushed over to Peter and Mary, eager to assess the turtle's condition. The rescue team loaded the turtle into their van, and Peter and Mary climbed in as well. They were both relieved to see the turtle being cared for by professionals, but they couldn't shake the feeling of unease caused by the discovery of the diamond ring. The ride to the animal hospital was tense and quiet, with the rescue team focused on driving and Peter and Mary lost in their own thoughts. When they arrived, they followed the turtle to the examination room and then waited anxiously in the waiting room for news. Hours passed, with Peter and Mary both growing more and more anxious. They had no idea what kind of injuries the turtle had sustained or whether it was going to make it. They tried to distract themselves with magazines and small talk, but their minds kept drifting back to the turtle and the strange ring. Just when they thought they couldn't take the waiting any longer, the door to the examination room opened, and a vet stepped out. Peter and Mary both jumped up, eager for news about the turtle. The vet looked at them both gravely, and for a moment, neither of them dared to breathe. "I have some good news and some bad news," the vet said finally. "The good news is that the turtle is going to be okay. It's been cleaned up and treated for some minor injuries, but it's going to make a full recovery. The bad news is that the animal is not going to be able to go wild for some time because he's so hurt and would be attacked by other animals." The vet and the rescue team thanked Peter and Mary for their help and praised them for being responsible and kind-hearted citizens who saved the life of an animal in need. They were all grateful for the couple's assistance in rescuing the turtle, and they were thrilled to hear that the turtle would make a full recovery. Just as they were about to leave the hospital, the vet approached Peter and handed him a small box. "I've got a present for you," he said with a smile. Peter opened the box and gasped in shock. Inside was the diamond ring that he had lost at the beach. It was the same ring that had ended up on the turtle's back. He couldn't believe it. The ring had been lost for months, and now it had been returned to him in such a strange and unexpected way. Overcome with emotion, Peter turned to Mary and got down on one knee. He held out the ring and asked her to marry him right then and there, in the middle of the hospital waiting room. Mary was speechless, her eyes wide with surprise and joy. She had been hoping for this moment for so long, and now it was happening in the most unexpected and magical way possible. For a moment, the whole world seemed to stand still as Peter waited for Mary's answer. "Yes," she said, as she hugged Peter.